Hey, Zach here, and I just want to go over the gear that I took over for a recent overnight adventure over at sleepinggiant Provincial Park, and the gear that I usually take for early fall and early spring, late spring. So first and foremost, for these time of trips, I use the Osprey Talon 33 in a small medium torso. I've had this bag for a few years now, and I've done some pretty big trips with it, and I found this bag was perfect for those kind of trips where you don't really need a whole bunch of gear and whatnot. On the left side here, they have a trekking pole stow and go system, and you can collapse your trekking poles and loop them through these two little loops right over here without even having to stop and take off your backpack. It does have two front hip pockets here on both sides for snacks or any quick access small items. It has two side pockets, one on this side, one on the other side, and that's usually where I stick my water bottles. Usually I have a 1 liter water bottle over here. On this side, oh, here's the 1 liter. Yeah, and usually I have a 750 milliliter water bottle. It's usually my clean bottle, drinking bottle. I tend to use the 1 liter bottle as dirty water. The feature I like about it too is that it does have a vented back, so if I do take it in like warmer months, for example, like it does vent a little bit better in the back. It's not really a big feature that I require. I use a Waymark Mile 28 bag now, and it doesn't have this kind of feature. But it does come handy, especially in the cooler months where you're walking and then you're sweating as much and you don't really feel it in your back. And I feel like it's a good feature because unless you're not using a pack liner or some kind of garbage bag on the inside of your stuff, sweat does build up in here generally, but if with the actual trampoline suspension, I don't feel it nearly as much, so that's good. So I'm just gonna go through the bag from top to bottom. We'll take apart everything that's in the frame first. So first thing in here is a Sea Summit Alpha Lake Lawn Spork. It's what I use to eat my food. I have a water filter here. It's the Sawyer Squeeze. Everybody seems to be using this. It's a popular filter amongst thru hikers. I've had this for a couple of years and I've kept it pretty clean and it still works pretty good. I would like to try the Platypus Quick Draw next. I hear it's a little bit better than the Sawyer Squeeze, but for all general purposes, I don't mind using this filter at all, and it hasn't given me any problems. The way that I clean it on trail, usually when you buy this, it comes with a syringe, and you put it on the top end to back flush all the filter out this way. You can either use like a sport cap from a Smart Water bottle, or a couple of years ago I purchased a coupling that you could put on a water bottle and use your water bottle to do the back flushing. I haven't had to use that coupling. I've been okay with the sport cap. Alright, poop kit. It's just a Ziploc bag, but I have a trowel to dig a cat hole, although right now in the season it's pretty cold outside still, like the ground's frozen, there's ice everywhere, so you try to use a Privy, but just in case if you have to go and dig a hole, I got one of these. A bidet. I use this with my dirty water bottle, the 1 liter, but ever since I switched to this, no complaints. I feel super clean. I don't worry about taking toilet paper or having to need it. It's been a game changer in terms of hygiene in the backcountry, and I recommend everybody switches to one of these. Instead of toilet paper, if I do need any type of wiping or even just to wash my hands or clean up, I take these dehydrated towelettes. I usually keep 12 in this little Ziploc bag. You put a little bit of water on them and they expand to a towelette, so you can clean up yourself, whether it be your hands, your backside. You've been hiking all day, you want to dab your face down. These work great, and they're biodegradable too. And finally, hand sanitizer. I obviously keep the germs off you and stuff, so it's always good to keep this on you. Alright, so on this particular trip I didn't need these, but sometimes when I do go on some winter trips, depending on the shelter I'm using, or if I need to stake anything into the ground, if the ground's too cold, I generally use these dead man anchors. And it's just some string tied to some carabiners right there. I take the carabiner to the end of each corner of my tent, and then I take the string and I roll it around some like a stick or something, and I bury it in the snow, pack it down. About 15 minutes later, it's frozen, and it lets me tension my tent. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't need these on my trip this time, but they're always good to have just in case. This is the Trekology Aluft 2.0 pillow. It was like 20 bucks on Amazon. I've tried other pillows before. I've used a lot of climate pillows, the Pillow X, the Pillow Lux. The Lux is nice, but I found ergonomically this pillow works the best for me. And with any cold weather trips, it's always good to bring some fire starter. These are just little cotton balls dipped in Vaseline. And on this particular trip, I only needed to use one, and I had a fire within moments. Didn't take too long. Cheap hack. This is an SOS pad. It was wrapped up in a dryer sheet just so it didn't smell or anything. Actually, it hasn't been used a lot, but I usually bring a towel with me on the trip, but I didn't have anyone on hand, so I just brought this SOS pad just to clean up anything in my pot or any mess in my cup if I had any. Just a little med kit here. So yeah, alcohol wipes, band-aids. I wear glasses, so I got lots of lens wipes, Tums just in case if I have heartburn. I also have repair kits for any of my items. So I have a patch for my sleeping pad in case if it gets a hole. I have an extra washer for my Sawyer squeeze in case if I lose it. I generally haven't lost the original one, but you never know. You might just accidentally drop it when you unthread it from the bottle. It has happened before, but I've always kept track of mine. I also have a toothbrush in here and some toothpaste tabs. There's my little toothbrush right here. It's bamboo. I've cut it to about 3/4 length, and I filed down the end. 4 grams, because I'm an ounce counting piece of shit. And I just got some toothpaste tablets in here too. So instead of carrying toothpaste, I usually just bring these. Ordered them off Amazon. They're not bad. I found with certain brands though, they turn into powder if you don't add an oxygen package to them. These ones have been okay. I also have some moleskins in here, some tenacious tape just to repair any fabrics like my tent or a jacket, so on and so forth. Okay. Rolling papers, self-explanatory. Okay, so that's everything from the brain of the bag. So this is a Thermarest Z-seat. It's pretty nice to sit on, whether it be the ground or a stump or some kind of bench that's made out at a campsite. It definitely insulates your bottom a little bit more too from sitting on those things, and it's just an overall better experience sitting down. I don't bring camp chairs with me because it's just an extra couple pounds that I don't really care to bring, and it's just a bulky item. This is good enough for me. And something I want to talk about. I had a gear failure within less than 24 hours, but I had just bought these Yak Track Actives ice cleats. I didn't know what the trail was going to be like when I went out there. I kind of assumed it was going to be ice and snow. It was actually ice, snow, and mud, so it was kind of a mixture of everything. And I kind of think I'm leaning why these failed. You're not supposed to walk on any type of solid objects like wood or gravel or anything, and I could see where these fail. So normally this would go through here and attach to the piece of silicone. So that's separated there, and that's because of these steel coils, when on something really rock hard, it severed through the silicone on here. And it was also gonna happen right here too, so this is eventually was going to split. So luckily I was able to use these for the duration of my trip, but they failed about 500 meters from the trailhead when I had to walk up on an ice hill. So I personally don't recommend these. They're kind of garbage. I would look for something that's a little bit better in design. I think I have found something, but I'm gonna go check it out probably Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, so I got this North Face puffy jacket. It's part of another jacket system. It comes with an outer, but generally I just use the puffy jacket on its own, and it's been pretty warm. It's a synthetic insulation, however. I kind of want to get something that's filled with down for compressibility. This compresses pretty good, but I know I can get a little bit smaller. Snow baskets for my trekking poles. Again, didn't know what it was going to be like out there. I haven't been out to Sleeping Giant since January. I think it was like the first week of January I was out there, and there was snow out there. But yeah, it's better to go a little bit more over prepared, I guess. This is my silky saw. I use it to process wood at a campsite. It is awesome. This blade is very sharp. I have cut myself with this before. A couple of years back, I was winter camping somewhere on some lake, and I just got there, started processing some firewood, and within a few moments, I had sliced my finger open. So yeah, I had a little bit of a bloody mess at first, so I kind of treat this blade with a little bit more respect now. Right, so now we're gonna go inside the backpack. Alright, so this is a food bag. It's just a Sea to Summit nylon dry bag. I have some coffee, some ketchup, and half of a dehydrated meal I made from home. It was Thanksgiving in a bag. It was really good actually. Lots of calories, so something I'll definitely be making more in the future. And this is my stove, my cook kit. So it's the Toke 750 millimeter pot. My cup that I use, actually, I got it from an MSR wind burner stove system, and I don't have that stove anymore because it failed. So I kept the cups. I have 2 of those cups, and I use it with my other ultralight cook system for summer months. Usually in the fall, winter, and spring, I like to make fresh coffee, so I have myself a little French press here, and you just assemble it like so with the stem, thread it together. There you go. Usually there's a lighter in here, but it's over there right now. But yeah, lighter stays in the kit. And the stove head's a Soto Amicus burner head. It's pretty good. I've had one out of these stoves before, but it failed on me. Don't know why. I emailed the company, and they're pretty spot on with the customer service, and they sent this to me for a small shipping fee. This stove hasn't failed at all. I've had this stove longer than the first stove. Maybe I just had a bunk stove, I don't know. But the reviews on this stove was pretty good considering. So I've stuck with it, and it's performed great. And then finally, just a 110 milliliter or 110 gram isobutane 4-season canister for my fuel. Okay, so hot topic of discussion. This is the Climate Insulated Recon sleeping pad. I've had no problems with this sleeping pad. It's comfortable. It's kept me warm. I've taken Climate products down to about -28 before, and that was the limit. But I also feel that it was also my sleeping bag that helped with the insulation. The issue with these pads here is that this is a plate welded design. So they form a design, and then they'll get 2 hot plates, and they'll put the fabric together, and then the heat will sandwich the parts that are going to be welded together. So when this is blown up, there's a lot of chambers here that are filled with air, but on some parts of the pad there's no insulation. And what Climate thinks is that your sleeping bag will fill the baffles of this for the insulation, covering those empty spots. And it may work. Maybe the science is working, because like I said, I haven't had any issues with these pads, but you'll find online that some people will rip into these just because their budget and of the design that I just explained. They give their pads a fake R value. They don't test these pads to the ATSM standard, where most higher end companies like Thermarest or Nemo would. They just started putting out an ATSM rating, and this pad claims to be an R value of 4.4, but I believe it's an actual R value of 1.8 or 1.3. I don't know. Like I said, it's done me okay. I don't mind taking it out, but I know there are warmer pads out there. Alright, next thing is my shelter. I got a couple shelters that I use, but for colder months, I like to bring the Lanshan 2 Pro. It's a sil nylon trekking pole tent. I got it for about $230 on AliExpress a few years ago, and it's been great. A lot of people complain when they get this particular version of the tent is that they feel that the user shouldn't have to seam seal the tent, and what that is just taking some gear aid seam sealer to go over the stitching of where each of the stitch points are on the tent so that no rain can get inside. I personally don't mind seam sealing my own tents. I feel like you get to know your gear a lot better, and you actually get to pitch it, get familiar with it, see what it's like. Yeah, I don't see any problem with it. So like I said, I've had this for a couple of years now. It served me well. I use the Lanshan 1 Pro now for the most part now in my ultralight months in the summer. Sometimes in the late fall I'll use it too. 2 trekking poles is all it takes, and a minimum of 6 stakes. Alright, finally, this is one of my favorite pieces of gear that I invested some money in, if I can get it out, but it is my sleeping bag. And I got this on sale from Altitude Sports just before Christmas there. I spent just a little under $400 for it, but it's an upgrade for me. Because I used to have a Marmot Trestles 0F synthetic bag, but now I got the Marmot Never Summer down-filled sleeping bag. And yeah, it's been compressed, but it doesn't look too lofty, but when you set this bag up on a sleeping pad or out anywhere, give it a few minutes, it's puffy, it's like sleeping in a cloud. So I got this bag on sale just before Christmas, just under $400. It's 650 fill power down. It's quite comfortable. And it's got a lot of features I like compared to my other sleeping bag. First and foremost, improved draft collar. So it not only is on the bottom, but it's on the top. And it definitely works. Once I'm in this sleeping bag, within a few moments, I'm already toasty warm. The other feature I like about this bag too is that on the side they've included these extra flaps here, so even if you don't want to zip it up all the way, you still have these flaps over here that can block air coming into the sides. It's a really nice feature. The other upgrade for the sleeping bag here is right at the foot box here. They actually have a zipper here. You can expand your foot box, get the air draft in there too. I've tried it once and it was pretty decent. I usually keep this zipped up just because I don't have any room problems with the foot box here, but it is an extra feature there if you do want a little bit more space. 650 fill power down. And the other thing too, it was on my other sleeping bag, but they have a little pocket here so you can stick like your phone, or if you use, for example, like your water filter in the winter time, it's always best to sleep with it because you don't want it to freeze. Otherwise, if it freezes, the hollow membrane core will crack and your filter is gone. Kind of going back to my tent, but yeah, I usually use trekking poles. These are the Woods carbon fiber trekking poles. They're about 200 grams a piece, and I like them. I haven't had any problems with them, apart from noticing that the carbide tip out of my trekking pole disappeared. I thought it was kicked back up in there, so I cleaned it today and I couldn't find it, and I found out on the other one that it looks like it's about to come out soon too. So what I did is I had a spare pair of trekking poles that were kind of junk, and I tore the carbide bit out of at the end of them, and I shoved it in here with a little bit of super glue. So now it's going nowhere, and I think I have to do it to the other one too because it's also kind of exhibiting the same thing. So other than that, these are pretty good. I use these to pitch my tent, either the Lanshan 2 Pro or the Lanshan 1 Pro. Like I said, with the Lanshan 2 Pro you need 2 of these, but with the Lanshan 1 you only need 1, which is really nice. Clothing, typically what I wear, or what I wore on the weekend, this hat, I wore this exact sweater, these black pants, and then underneath I wore a smart wool merino wool base layer, so I have top and bottom here. And then for socks, I've been using these darn tough socks here. And I think actually there is one more thing that I missed here. Oh, there is. A couple of things actually. This is my 10,000 mAh battery bank. It's just got a Type-C cord in here and a micro USB cord. That's for my headlamp and my phone. I've had this for a couple of years. I only used it on trips and it's held the charge pretty good. I get about 2 days out of this. When I go to sleep, just in case if it gets a little bit cold, I wore these merino wool socks right at the hip out here. So this is my headlamp. It's a Petzl Tika 350 lumens. I also have the rechargeable battery that goes with it. So if it dies on trail, I can recharge it with my battery bank. I used to use rechargeable AAA batteries that were USB charged, but they didn't hold power that good, and I noticed that I was charging them probably about every other day, whereas I can go a few days without having to charge this battery. And finally, I keep a little bit of jute cord on me just in case I need to tie anything together at camp. For example, when I set up my lanshan 2 on the weekend, to get some more headroom, you can actually stake out the sidewalls. So there was a tree just a foot or two away from the tent, so I decided to tie off the loop that's on the lanshan to the tree and then cinch it back so I had extra headroom. You never know when you might need to tie something off, hang something in a tree. Last but not least, a garbage bag. Now, I usually stick my sleeping bag in the garbage bag. I don't expect much rain in the fall, in the winter, and some early spring, but especially when it does rain, it's always good to line your backpack with this to waterproof the contents of your bag. I don't believe in exterior pack covers, because what ends up happening is you put the pack cover on and water ends up actually pooling and going behind you in your back, so your bag is still getting wet regardless. That's where this comes into play. It waterproofs everything on the inside. So generally what I normally do on most of my colder trips is that I just put the sleeping bag in the garbage bag just to keep it dry. But down, you don't want to get this wet, because if it does get wet, the properties of down no longer work until this is dry. I always use either a nylon flume liner or a garbage bag as a liner. That's generally all the gear that I bring. If you have any comments or anything, just leave them down below. Hit me up, whatever. I like talking gear and stuff, so yeah. Have a good one.